Thank you, Gaurav, for calling me unemployed and labeling me somebody that nobody will want to employ again after this. So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for inviting me for this session out here today. And Gaurav, just to clarify, I've already achieved my DTM and I'm on to my second DTM now. So, just to ensure we are on the same page. So, let's go on and talk about evaluations. But before we talk about evaluations, let me tell you a story. This is a story of two people, Jack and Jill. I know it's not that nursery rhyme poem of Jack and when Jill went up the hill. Basically, about two people who work in the corporate world. Now, Jack is a very timid person. He's a nice, very nice individual. He doesn't really want to hurt people. And as a manager and a leader, when he gives evaluation, then you heard Namrata speak about it a little bit. When he gives evaluation and feedback to his people who work under him, he does not really give them any of value. He tries to praise them. He doesn't try to offend them at all. He wants to play it safe. He wants to be a nice guy. And Jill, on the other hand, is a very straightforward person. She'll say it like she sees it. She'll call a spade a spade. And she does not mince any words when she gives feedback to her team members. What really happens? Neither are Jack's team members happy because they've never really understood that when they've done a good job or they've not done a good job, or for everything that they do, Jack will say you've done a good job. In case of Jill, nobody really understands that if they have done a good job or a bad job, because even if they have done a good job, Jill will always find something that they could have been done better. So it's an interesting situation that both Jack and Jill really have. Now, what does this all have to do with the process of evaluations? At the end of the day, a lot of people come to Toastmasters and think that only thing that you learn in Toastmasters is possibly public speaking. Yes, you do learn public speaking, but there is so much more that you really learn. And evaluation is a key skill that you learn in Toastmasters. Now, why is this relevant? Is because both Jack as well as Jill will benefit from the process of learning to be effective evaluators. Is it a process that happens automatically? No. The same way that we take our journey in speaking, it's not something that we automatically pick up. We learn the nuances and we build upon them as we go along. In the same way, evaluation is also a science. It's something that you have to learn to do it the right way. And when you start doing it the right way, then you add value not only to yourself, but you add value to the person that is also taking your evaluation. Now, you actually add value at three levels. When you become an effective evaluator, you add value to yourself because what you've really done now is now you started having an understanding about a speech in its entirety. You are able to dissect a speech, you're able to analyze a speech to all the nuances.
Nance, we are recording or not recording?
You guys can figure out whether you're recording or not, but I'll go ahead. So the first level is you land up benefiting yourself because you now start becoming creating the ability to understand a speech in its entirety. You're able to break it down into all the finer elements and you are able to ensure that you are able to give feedback on that. How does that help you? It helps you become a better speaker yourself because when you give feedback to others, your own ability to incorporate that into your own speaking goes up tremendously. So the first element is the benefit by being a good evaluator is that you grow as a communicator and you grow as a leader. The second, obviously, is the person to whom you give feedback. Now, this becomes a great benefit to the person that you're giving feedback to because the person now starts learning what is it that the person did well and what is it that the person could do better. And then, obviously, you add in terms of many other things that you could do to make that evaluation worth that time that was put into it. So, the second person benefiting is obviously the person who's getting the evaluation. But there is a third set of people that really benefit from an effective evaluation. And who are those? Anyone would like to take a guess? You can put it on the chat message or you can unmute yourself. What is the third entity that benefits from a good evaluation?
Audience?
Absolutely right. The audience. Because everyone, when we come and attend a Toastmasters meeting, even if you're not doing a role, there is something that we take away. When you hear a good speaker, you learn so many things about good speaking. And when you hear a good evaluation, you understand how to analyze that speech better, and you also understand how could you evaluate better, and you grow in the process. So whenever you become an effective evaluator, three entities are benefited: yourself, the speaker, as well as the audience. Now, there could be many ways, and I'm going to be going something which is a very, very simple technique and a very, very simple process to be going to evaluation. I'm not going to be covering contests and stuff like that, right? I'm only going to be talking about how is it that you can do an effective evaluation. Now, obviously, we hear about this all the time, that before you even get into the evaluation, one question you have to ask yourself, and I've seen this and I've done this myself in the past, right? When I've gone to evaluate a speech, you go evaluating a speech because there's nothing that is required to run before you evaluate a speech. You just have to listen to the speaker, make some comments, and give him feedback. That's right. No, sorry, that's not the way it is. There is a process that happens even before you undertake the evaluation. And what is that process? Anybody in the audience wants to again give me a feedback on that? What do you do even before you start an evaluation itself? Yeah, go ahead. Anybody?
Yes, Swapnil.
Go ahead, Swapnil.
For any project at any level, there is an objective to be made by the speaker. But as we move up the levels, any curious speaker who wants to improve will be aware what are his weak points and where he wants to get evaluated apart from the speech objectives given by the Toastmasters. So if I'm evaluator, I would like to know from the speaker if he or she wants to get himself evaluated on other any specific parameters as well.
Great point.
And that would also help me know if speaker is preparing, because anyone who is not preparing for his or her role is wasting others' time as well.
That's
So
right.
that's also I would like to assess.
Absolutely, absolutely, Swapnil. Great point. And Puneet also, I saw him typing a message onto the chat that you need to know the objectives and you need to the speaker. You need to speak to the speaker beforehand. Yes, these are two essential elements that you have to do. But there's an additional element that I'll go beyond that. If you really want to become a good evaluator, go and read the entire speech project. How many of you take that time and energy to do that, right? And this is very, very important. And it doesn't matter even if you've done the speech project yourself in the past. It makes great sense to spend that additional 10 minutes before you even enter the meeting to go online and go into the project and read the project in its entirety if you can. Now, what is the benefit of that? First of all, you understand all the elements that the speaker has received inputs upon from Toastmasters. And believe me, Toastmasters, the quality of the content that we have is amazing. There are so many things that we might have glossed over when we gave a speech ourselves. When you go back to that project and you read it in detail, it helps you to understand those smaller nuances. And then when you evaluate the speaker, they are at the back of your mind. So that is one thing I definitely recommend. Understand clearly what is the purpose of the project, and that's what both of you spoke about. That is very, very important before you go for the evaluation. And the third is go and have that conversation with the speaker. What else would the speaker like to know from you? Has the speaker received feedback? In fact, before this, when you used to have the CC manuals, right, the physical manuals, one of the things I would typically do is go back and read the evaluations from the previous projects that the speaker has received. And if you read that, then you understand what did the speaker do well and did not do well earlier. So even if the speaker does not tell you that, you are able to then give him feedback. They say, hey, I saw in the last 3 projects, somebody spoke about vocal variety. And here I've seen how you are able to bring it on, right? Stuff like that. So this is something that you can actually ask the speaker. What is this feedback that you received from your previous evaluation? Has there been something which has come to you on a recurring basis? What are your positives or what are the areas that you could improve? So this is all the stuff that you need to do before you even get into the meeting physically as an evaluator. And that's a responsibility that you have. It's not the 2 and 3 minutes that you're going to be on stage. Your responsibility goes much beyond that. And the investment of time and energy you should do to be a good evaluator encompasses all of these things. Now, if you do this, then you're doing justice to yourself, you're doing justice to the speaker, and you're doing justice to the audience who's going to hear your evaluation. So this is a fundamental preparation that you have to be able to do even before you get into the meeting itself. Now, during the course of the meeting, obviously, one of the fundamental things that I tell people is Is there a structure that you follow when you're doing an evaluation? I'm going to give you a very, very simple structure. I take a blank sheet of paper, and I hope some of you can see this right now. I divide this into 3 columns, right? The first one is what points are you covering? The second one is what are the things that the person excelled at? And the third column is for what are the things that the person could improve upon. Now, what does this help you is that when you are sitting down for the evaluation, you have a structure. I mean, and it's very simple. Even if you don't go and look at the ISC evaluation sheet, right? Just do the basic stuff. What are the basic stuff? Right on top. What is the purpose of the speech? Look at what was the speech structure. Look at body language, right? Look at all of these elements. What are the normal things that you normally put it out right now? And when you are doing an evaluation, quickly write down those into those respective columns. That means now you are going to deep dive into the speech itself. You're not going to be at a superficial level. A lot of us in the evaluation, we sit with a blank sheet of paper and we just write a couple of comments that these are things person did well. But if you do this in a structured fashion, first of all, mentally you primed your mind that when I listen to a speaker, I'm now going to delve into these 6 facets of his delivery, these 6 facets of the structure, all of those elements now mentally clear with you. When you're clear about it and you're listening to the speaker, you're able to automatically jot down those points in that particular column. So this is the second bit of it where you analyze, and you analyze using a process that will help you later on to be able to give the speaker a much more effective evaluation. Now, what really happens in this process is you land up with a lot of notes, right? You might have a lot of notes. Like if somebody did something well, and again, we have Puneet out here sitting, he has actually reached the district level, right, Puneet? You've gone through the division level evaluation contest. So we have the division level champion sitting out here as it is. And he will tell you, right, that one of the things that you have to do well is to be able to, first of all, analyze the speaker well. And then after that, it's all about what do you really take out and talk about. So the first element is, first of all, have a structure and then analyze that speech on that basis. Now, this is not sufficient because this is just the part. Now, after the speech is over, until the time you are called to evaluate, you definitely have a gap, right? Because there's always a table topic or something that happens in between. And that is the point of time where you can collect your thoughts. It's same in the speech contest, right? Where you get that 5 minutes to sit and create, structure your thinking. In the same way, this is the time that you have to be able to structure your thinking. At that point of time, sit down and analyze. Now, if you suppose have 6 or 7 points on what are the things the person did well, now start isolating out of that which are the top 3. So basically try to stack rank them. If you have 6, what is the number 1, what is the number 2, and put that down on your sheet of paper. Number 1, number 2, number 3, right? It's your own analysis, it doesn't matter. You're not going to follow anybody else's methodology. Now, what might be incorporated into that is what the speaker told you, that please be mindful of giving me feedback on this particular aspect, right? So if the speaker has asked you for that, then ensure that those are in a 1, 2, or 3 then, right? In terms of either the things that the person excelled at or things that the person needs to improve upon. Ensure that is there. If the project objectives require you to focus on something specifically beyond what you mentioned in the purpose as it is, then that will automatically come up in the first, second, or third. So these are automatically the ways that you can ensure that you identify the top 3 or top 4 out of each of these. Now, even if you have 6 or 7. Now you might ask, what is the purpose of writing so many? Why not just take a piece of paper and write down the top 3? Well, the benefit of that is that there is also a written feedback that you do provide the speaker subsequently, right? When you return back the evaluation sheet, and you're able to utilize all these other points that you might not deliver during your speech evaluation into that and give it back to the speaker. The speaker will definitely benefit from that effort that you made, even if you did not talk about it in that 2 to 3 minutes evaluation that you did. So this is the reason why once you capture these notes, it's going to help you much more beyond whatever else you might be delivering in the evaluation. Now, we started off with the preparation before, then we came to the analyzing the speaker in a structured way. After that, we came down to be able to stack rank or prioritize amongst the feedback that you're wanting to give. What is it that the person could have done? Now, what is the last part to this now? The last part is to be able to deliver that evaluation effectively. Now, when you're delivering an evaluation effectively, never forget an evaluation is also a speech. Try to create an opening, a body, and a conclusion into it also. Again, taking in an element from the speaker's speech itself could be a fantastic way. It could be a quote, it could be a sentence, it could be something the speaker said, something the speaker left as a takeaway message. That could be a great opening for your speech. When you are reiterating what is it that the speaker said, and you could start with that, just for example. Or you can always go beyond that to even identify a quote that aligns to what the speaker spoke. It's not a big deal. And here, unlike in a contest, your phones are there with you. You can just sit down and do a Google search, pick up some lovely quotes, and put that quote as a fantastic opening to your evaluation also. It's not going to take you more than 5 to 10 seconds to say that. It's not going to consume too much of time. So typically when you're talking about a 3 minute to 3.5 minutes of time that you'll have, ensure that you put in about 15-20 seconds into an opening for an evaluation. And this is all the things that you can put there as it is, right? After that, till the time about 1.5 minutes is where you focus upon giving in the positives. What are the things the speaker did well? So when you have about 1.5 minutes for that as it is, then easily you can cover minimum 3 to 4 good things that the speaker did. Now, like I again repeated, you might have 7 or 8 things written down. You don't have to talk about all of them. Talk about the top 3 or 4 things that the speaker did well, and talk about why you liked it. Talk about, like you said, if the speaker had received feedback earlier and was not doing well on that and has put in that effort now, commend the speaker. Because how will you encourage a speaker till the time you do not tell him that, hey, I love the fact you did this well. I love the way that you brought in a body language to emphasize this point and stressed upon it when you spoke about it. Whatever else, right? So when you're able to give that positive feedback, because motivating a speaker is an essential element of an evaluation. You do have to elevate the speaker and motivate the speaker to be able to deliver better and better. So you take that time to give him the positive feedback. Now once you start seeing the green card come up as it is, make sure you've launched into what are your recommendations. And here too, again, people love to be able to rattle off. We are Indians. Indians are amazing in terms of being critics, right? And we love to be able to tell what is it that Virat Kohli could have done on the batting crease, right? How he could have played that shot better. Even if in the gully cricket, we get out on the first ball ourselves. It doesn't matter. But when we are wanting to give feedback to an audience, we can easily tell what is the way Virat Kohli could have played that shot. So unfortunately, that is the background that we come with. So we are all gung-ho about being able to demonstrate to the speaker what all you could have done better. Resist that temptation and make sure you focus upon the top 2. In fact, in my opinion, don't even go beyond 2, right? It's just a speech evaluation in the club. Don't even go beyond 2. Just take 2 elements that the speaker could improve upon. And is it sufficient just to talk about that these are the things you could have done well? What more could you possibly do to add value to a speaker? Let's hear again some of the people in the audience sitting out here. And I do not want to have the experienced Toastmaster speaking. Let's hear any of the newer Toastmasters. What else do you think you could possibly do to help a speaker when you are giving recommendations? Can I hear someone?
Can I?
Yeah, please. I mean, Swapnil, you seem to be okay. Go ahead.
Not only tell what's to be done, but tell how is that to be done.
Exactly right. So it's not enough to be able to just say you could have done this, you could have done very better vocal variety. Tell him where and tell him how. So if there are a particular instance in the speech that gave an opportunity of vocal variety, then say in this portion of your speech, when you were doing this element, when you were talking to your father, or you were talking to that policeman on the road, or whatever that component of the story was, point out the specific section of his speech and say this is what he could have done. If you're wanting to bring in elements in terms of saying how could you have used body language, then demonstrate that body language. What is it that you could have done to be able to make your speech memorable? If you're talking about saying how could you have an effective conclusion, then ensure that you specify that you could have reiterated your message. You could have looped back to the opening of your speech by bringing that element as the few last sentences. When you brought back memory of that, what is it that you're reiterating as a message? What is the takeaway message? Stuff like that. So ensure that you leave that specifically as a recommendation, not just in terms of stating what, but also demonstrating, and not just telling, demonstrating how. And this is very, very important for the speaker, right? Because till the time the speaker does not get a perspective, what and how he could have done it better, how is the speaker going to improve? And that's exactly what is you put in. And then when you finish it off, obviously conclude that off as it is, either by closing the loop with an opening statement that you made at the beginning of your speech, or maybe a summation, either of the way. In a contest, it's a summation. In a club meeting, it could be just a closing loop. And that is the way, my dear friends, when you deliver effective evaluations, you are helping not only yourself, the speaker, but also the audience. And each one of you go back richer in the process, and each one of you grow as communicators and leaders. And tomorrow, neither Jack's employees and team members are going to be complaining, and neither Jill's, because both of them would have received effective feedback. And that's how you can translate the skill that you learn in Toastmasters into your professional and personal life. With that, I hand it back over to Gaurav.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ajay Iraskar, for that wonderful education session. I think the bit that struck me the most was how it's important to give feedback. How there are three stakeholders every time you give an evaluation. So that's an important learning. We will now have a 5-minute Q&A session wherein I would request members to either unmute themselves and we can have a Q&A with Toastmaster Ajay. So either you can unmute and speak, or probably you can post your questions in the chat section and I'll read it out to Ajay, either ways. So members, the floor is open for you.
No Jacks and Jills in the audience today.
Okay, so I'll start it off. Ajay, the one question which I had in terms of evaluation is, when I have whenever I have attempted at evaluation, I tend to go more on a critics mode, wherein I'm trying to say, okay, like how you pointed out, you're trying to tell Virat Kohli, okay, these. So I tend to go on the critics side more. So how do I balance it out?
I think once you keep the element in mind that I have to speak positive for till the green card comes up,
Okay.
automatically you're forced to, right? Because you cannot mentally, you have to psych yourself saying, till the time I don't see green, I will not start recommendations.
Okay.
When you start into that mentality, then automatically you're forced to now look at all the positive elements of the speech, because what will you speak for first 2 minutes otherwise, right?
Okay.
So that is the simplest thing. And like I said, after that, just restrict yourself to 2 recommendation elements. Even if you're 5 on your sheet, just deliver 2 recommendations.
Okay. So we have a question from Jennifer. Now her question is that, can we give feedback on the content of the speech?
Okay, good question, Jennifer. And I've heard and seen this very often. Typically, I would say, put it like this, that when we are evaluating a speech in terms of the delivery, how effective the speech would have been. Now, if you had elements to add to the effectiveness of the speech on the content, only then point it out. Otherwise, per se, it is the opinion of the speaker. It's a perspective the speaker is bringing to the table, right? So, like I said, if you have to add to the content, would be how could the opening have been made better? Now you are commenting on the content now, but not specifically on what did the speaker speak about, right? So this is the differentiation you have to do. That as long as it adds value for the speaker to be more effective next time, that's about it. But don't deep dive into the content in terms of saying that this opinion is wrong. Obviously, that's a complete no-no. Or even commenting upon the perspective, because that's fine. That is the speaker's perspective that he or she is sharing. So I hope that answers the question.
Ajay, I have a question.
Sure.
So Ajay, I'm a new Toastmaster member, like from 1 or 2 months, and the speakers which are coming in, when they are delivering speeches, so they are like very experienced speakers and all. So for taking up role of evaluator and actually seeing what is missing in them to give a feedback, I'm not able to do that. So I'm not taking up the role of evaluation. So this is where I'm, stuck right now, because I'm in the process of growing myself, and I can't see something for them. So is there any insight you can share that, for speakers who are already in a very good level over here, and if you don't have much feedback to go in, how can we manage that kind of thing?
So two questions first. I mean, from your personal point of view, how many speeches have you given so far?
I've not given so far now.
You've not given speeches?
I have to give a plan this or next month. Yeah.
So my recommendation is, first of all, you should personally at least give 3 or 4 speeches. Because till
Okay.
the time you don't do 3 or 4 speeches, you don't really get the basics elements in place, right? So my first recommendation is give speeches first and then take up recommendation role. That's my first recommendation. Now, after that, it doesn't matter. Even if you are just 3 months old in the system and there is a Toastmaster whom you're evaluating who's 3 years old in the system or 13 years old in the system, it doesn't make a difference. Like I've said, try to follow this technique that I said. Now, once you are able to break up a speech, saying that, hey, now we know what is an opening, we know what is the body, we know what is the conclusion, right? You are able to identify body language. You are able to understand whether the language used in the speech was good or not. Now, these are basics. Now, we are not kindergarten, right? We are adults. We have done speaking our whole life. So we know enough about to be able to, if you break it down, you're able to identify the smaller element, and then don't worry. At the end of the day, we all come here to learn. In fact, in the beginning, when you evaluate, ask some other senior evaluator, ask some other senior member to give you feedback how could you have improved as an evaluator. So automatically, when you will do this and you will do an evaluation, the person can go back and ask them, hey, what could I have done better? In the process, you will learn to become a better evaluator next time. And it's only by doing that you learn. That's why do it as much as you can, and that is the way you learn. Don't shy away from doing it. But yes, like I said, at least have done 3 or 4 speeches yourself. That's my only recommendation.
Okay. Thanks, Ajay.
I have one question. Suppose I am evaluating someone and I restrict my recommendations to only 2. Is it a good idea that after the speech I give my full list of recommendations? Because that can nullify the effect. If after the speech I am getting in touch and giving him 5 recommendations, it's good thing that I did not give all the recommendations in front of everyone. But to him, he might think that, oh, I need to improve 5 things. So does that do any good?
Well, if you want to give 5 recommendations, hope you have identified 7 commendations also.
That okay. So I have to balance it.
You have to balance it, right? It's very, very important. And yes, sometimes you have to be kind also. You have to forego, maybe there are 5 things, maybe you've spoken about 2 of them, maybe just give a third one for now. See, it's not the end of the world. It's just a speech. There are many more speeches the person is going to be giving later on. No, focus on the most important things right now rather than going into the nitty, the small elements of it. So ignore some of them for now, and especially for newer speakers. Now, if it's an experienced speaker, then please go whole hog. If somebody is 1 or 2 years old in the system, after the speech is over, even if you go and tell them 3 more, it's fine. Okay. But like I again said, that develop that art, that whatever you do, at least have a plus side on the commendation before you try to give a recommendation. That's my first advice to you. If you do that, then even if you give 8 recommendation, it won't matter because you've given them 10 commendations then possibly.
Thank you. I get the point.
I think Prasad has raised his hand.
Sure.
Yeah, Ajay, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm basically new to Toastmasters, and I had a question is that when we are speaking extempo, sometimes it does happen that you are searching your speaking, but you are some words are not coming in the flow. So you are in a way you're searching for those words, and then it creates a kind of gap, and you become conscious. How to overcome this?
So are you talking about a prepared speech or are you talking about tabletop?
Yeah, I'm talking about table topics when you're speaking extempo.
Yeah.
So
I think the first element that I can only tell you is, first of all, believe me, I mean, I've spoken quite a lot in the corporate world before I joined Toastmasters. So speaking was not new to me. But even after that, and I'll cover this when I'll come back to table topics, is even after that, when I started giving Toastmaster speeches, I would land up rehearsing my speeches. It's very important for you to get that mental shall I say, structure of how you do this effectively. The beauty of this is what is when you come to table topics also later on, you start developing an approach when you're given a topic that you land up having a strategy. What really happens is now when you speak extempore, you have nothing. You do not have structure, you do not have an approach, you have nothing, right? So at least when you even speak extempore, if you not got in the habit of creating a structure in your mind, now that is something which is automatically happening. You don't have to put your mind to it. If now you know that you need to be able to bring in maybe some element of body language or anything like that. So automatically these are now mentally fed in with you. Your brain is now free to focus on the content. And that is how you can deliver extempore content better when you practice and rehearse, prepared speeches. And this is the beauty of it, that this helps you to even speak better extempore subsequently. And that is why you'll find that good speakers who are table topic speakers are actually very good public speakers also, because now this is transferred into extempore speaking. So that would be my take to you. And don't forget that even after 5 years, even in Toastmasters, and even after doing many things, even now, sometimes I'll get stuck. I'll be searching for something. So that's human. So after a point of time, don't worry. In Toastmaster meetings, nobody is going to be judging you just because you got stuck. It's happened to me many times. It happens even now. So don't worry about it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. That was very useful. Thanks.
Sure.
Yeah, the next question.
Okay, I don't have a question. It's just an add-on. I'm a new member in my club. Let me show myself. So I'm a new member in my club. So when it comes to evaluation, it's one thing that I always have cold feet when I think about doing them because I'm new to the club. And when the speaker is speaking, I would just take a piece of paper and write some things, not just keywords. But by the time they finish, I already forgot almost half of the things that I want to say. And it's like now I'm thinking about what I'm going to say and I lose other things in the process. So I think your process that you have shared, it's very informative. It's a nice thing to have. So I'm going to follow that and do my feedback based on that, because yeah, it's very, very, very helpful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I think that's valid. I see somebody else also putting a question out here, Sudhir. Yeah. You recommend taking notes, and this is related to you, maybe Tobago. So yes, I do recommend taking notes, but not extensive notes. So this is the reason why when you create a structure, what I'll typically do is when I have this, I will put a tick, I'll put a cross, and I'll write a short comment upon what is it that I put a tick or a cross for. And later on, I might see what really happens. Like you said, it's a 5 to 7 minute speech. By the time the speech is over, it's very difficult to go back and remember what are all the elements that you wanted to do. Now, if you do this like, quick notes as it is during the speech, like I said, crosses, ticks, and then maybe a comment about, saying that this is where, like you said now, body language. And you said that when you are talking to your child, right? And you just made a comment that this is something you did well. So just write that down. Now, your brain now will remember what that element was after the speech, just by seeing that comment. You don't need to write the whole thing down. This is the beauty. You're prompting your brain because some of those things are registered, but because the entire 7 minutes is over, it's very difficult for you to get it back. Now, like this, you have these points noted down. They will automatically come back to you. What is it that the speaker was trying to do at that juncture? And then you will be able to elaborate on that when you give your evaluation. This is the beauty of the process. Don't make extensive notes, make short notes.
Great. Yeah. Any other questions? Do we have any other questions or?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, great.
So I would love to, you guys can send me back either to a public comment or a private chat. Send me feedback about what you found useful or what could have been improved in this particular session. That will help me understand how much did you learn about this technique.
That's great. Okay, great. Good. So thank you so much.